Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are here. It's Wednesday night, and hope you're all ready for 2 fun-filled hours of paranormal entertainment, because that's what we've got whipping up for you. And by we, I don't just mean me. I mean myself and my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
He's actually probably talking about the royal we, the he, himself, and thine own. It doesn't make sense if I say the anyhow. Never.
Thy, thee, thou. Yeah, I meant you.
Me, myself, and I is what he's saying.
I meant you and me.
What other?
Just to decomplicate this a little bit. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. I've been sleeping better lately. I wonder if that's because there's so much smoke in the air.
it's the lack of oxygen to kind of just knocks you out.
Yeah, it's like
you just go hypoxic a little bit, and just settled into a nice slumber until you get to morning time.
No doubt.
That hasn't worked for me so much, but I'm glad you got better sleep. That's good. Yep. Welcome. Good to have you back, brother.
Hey, this is interesting. So
Sure.
I'm sorry, our brother Titan in chat there.
Yeah.
He's been MIA for a couple weeks. And
I noticed that.
He says, "Hey Don, I was down in Louisiana helping clean up." Awesome job, bro.
Well played, brother.
Awesome
well played.
job.
Way to show up for your neighbors, brother. That's good. I was actually thinking about you today. I was like, where's Titan been? I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
That's cool. If you're going to be gone, that's an excellent reason. That absence is excused.
Yes, that is a hall pass. Definitely, Nessie, you're right. He needs a hall pass. Yep. There it is.
There it is.
Awesome job, buddy.
When you're bending over to help people, when you're lending a hand.
I hope you don't bend over and get a hand lended.
Yeah. It's one of those, you wish you could just eat them back. Those words you used, you could grab them out of the air. Just eat them again. But,
oh, no.
Yeah, that's my command of the English language, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to get a whole lot more of that throughout the next 2 hours, I guarantee it.
Wow. Yeah, but it's been good. It's been a great week. Thanks for asking, Brent.
Yes, I bet it has. But yeah, it's good to see you again.
Awesome.
Always a pleasure when you can come in and hang out with me in the studio.
Thank you.
And just help hold up the amazing mass that is the portal.
I know, it's an amazing mass. Do you think portals would be light, right? Because they're,
you think
out there floating around in space, right?
I guess they
just
think about it.
Pop up wherever they go, but they apparently manifest a lot of mass.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, I've been known to manifest some mass myself, but I think you just manifested some right there. But you're not just supporting one dimension; you're supporting several. So
that's true. Yeah,
that's why they're probably a bit heavier. Yes. But welcome everybody to our 2-hour Wednesday show. Throughout the course of the show, if you have something paranormal of your very own, you're welcome to call in and share it with us. We love to hear from you. And the number for that is 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500. That's how you get in touch with us. And, otherwise we'll be here just doing our best to fill up your ear holes with all kinds of wonderful paranormal goodness.
Without lending a hand.
Jeez.
Wow.
So, might as well ride that wave until it's over.
Yeah.
That's my surfing pose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the circus, ladies and gentlemen. This is about as good as it gets if you're new to the show. So I don't know what you're expecting, but just remember you're getting every dime you paid for.
Welcome to the farmyard.
Yeah, the barnyard. But yeah, we've got a great show tonight. I lined up some really interesting articles and things about disappearances. We all know about the missing 411. You have to have been under a rock, not to have heard about the missing 411 stuff. If you're not familiar with it, people are just strangely disappearing in mostly national parks. Is primarily what David Politis has focused on in his research and in his quest to bring awareness to these missing people that apparently thousands a year, or I don't know if it's thousands a year, go missing in national parks every year.
Except this year.
Well, yeah, they were all home.
Everybody who's been home, national parks have been closed because they needed to start fires. I mean, fires started.
Yes, of course. Yeah, well, we're not going quite down that alley, but yeah, everybody's been home, so there's probably less numbers this year.
Yeah.
But it is strange because these cases are absolutely bizarre. Nobody knows what's happening. There's lots of theories, from Bigfoot to portals to UFOs to ghosts to dimension stuff. It's hard to say. So much nicer looking at Paranormal Portal. Thank you.
Farm and Seeds. How you doing, Seeds?
Good to see you, brother. And welcome to all of you guys.
Yes.
Let's see who's here.
You want to do a roll call? Yeah,
Let's do
we
a
got
roll
a lot
call.
of chatters right now. Let's get my slow computer moving here. All right, so off the top, I see NEM, Big Rob. Yeah, Carrie. I see Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
Hey, Carrie.
I think she was over in Bigfoot Odyssey when we were there just a bit ago.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chris Jarvis is here. Davy Jones's locker. Aaron Heisner just popped in. Let's see here. Ethan's here. Jordan's here. Wow, these numbers. Great Lake Squatch. South Squatch.
Hey, cool.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Let's see. Kirsten Lee, Lindsay Bay, Mara Murphy, Nessie's here. Pumpkin's here. Renee. Hi, Renee. Rhonda's here. Rigger Ridge is here. There's Seeds. The General's here. Titan's here, as I did mention a bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Treva. My thing just popped up. Don't do that. There we go.
When people are coming and going, that thing changes all the time.
Yeah, it's just crazy. William Bennett. Oh, hi, William. Duke was here. Oh, no, he's still here.
Yep.
Let's see here. And let me go back up the list to see if Jenny Metz. Nice to see you. Isaac's here. How you doing, Isaac? And Bomber, of course. Let's see. And that's all I see now. So there you go.
Someone named Pumpkin is in here.
Pumpkin, yeah.
How you doing, Pumpkin?
How you
Nice
doing?
to see. I love looking up and seeing new names. That to me is exciting. So Great Lake Squatch says, a guy went missing in Namaji. Is it Bemidji? Did you mean Bemidji? That says Namidji in Minnesota 2 years ago without a trace. I've been there before. Your internal compass gets all messed up in that area.
Wow.
Easy to get turned around. Wow. Yeah. I suppose that, some of it could just be that people are stumbling off kind of, maybe they're just got a bad internal compass, like you said.
Right, yeah.
But others, some of these cases are really, really interesting. Several times, scent dogs are brought in and just unwilling or unable to search. They refuse to. It's like these dogs are refusing to do it. Are they smelling something they don't like? Are they doing something else? I don't know. But just a lot of strangeness. People disappearing without a trace.
I wonder if anybody's kind of looked into that. I don't know how you would look into that, but like a Bermuda Triangle, if you will, for the body. You go into this place and I don't know who was it that said that. Great Lakes Sasquatch said that. Mm-hmm. And you just get there and you fall into this, mysterious devil's triangle where your body just starts not recognizing, cues. You're facing north, south, east, west, losing time. I wonder if anybody's been able to look into that and see if maybe it's the area like a Bermuda Triangle in these particular places.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
But wouldn't that be called a portal, though? Who knows?
I mean, it might be. And that's the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that a lot of people believe that there are these natural portals that come and go. And we've covered those stories like that on the show before. People finding themselves just within steps in a whole different area. Sometimes like from woodland to like jungle, in like a matter of steps. And then they backtrack and they're back in the woodland and then everything's normal. But
right.
It's like there's these weird, I don't know, portals, I guess, that people have entered into. And so I often wonder how much of it could be just that. I'm sure that, some of it could be the weird cryptids that are out there. Maybe people got too close to something or
right.
they were just starving. I definitely wouldn't put us off the menu
right.
as far as possible prey for certain things, including the terrestrial animals, of course. But generally, they recognize when people are mauled by animals and can see sign of that. So that wouldn't be necessarily unexplained missing. But what about, the Sasquatch or a dog man or a ghoul rake or whatever new name it has now? There's another new name out. I guess that's kind of the same thing. And, or whatever. Are there things running around out there that may indeed prey on us? And I guess that's a possibility too. So whatever it is, we're going to get into a couple stories about that tonight and then just a whole lot more And the more can be everything, on the paranormal spectrum. Because we don't like to paint ourselves in a corner.
I don't like to paint at all.
I just want to give you guys a little bit of a teaser. I've been talking with Vic Cundiff, and he's shown interest in coming on the show. So I'm lining up that for some time in the future here. So keep your eyes posted for that. That'll be great to have Vic on the show. Of course, he's got a footstep in both worlds as far as Bigfoot and Dogman, because he does 2 shows, one of each, and he's been around the cryptid neighborhood for a long time, so it'll be cool to hear what he's got to say. Also, a special thank you to Bigfoot Odyssey. Mm-hmm. Don and I were guests on their guest host or co-host with Daniela today, and that was awesome, and thanks, Carrie, for having us and letting us be there. It's always a good time. Unfortunately, there was a lot of technical difficulties with the guest, but it was still fun.
It was getting to be a good conversation.
Oh yeah, that guy's story was intense. I just loved it. I had so many questions boiling to the surface, but he was able to answer a few of them, and he did lay his story down, which is really cool. So if you get a chance to watch that replay, unfortunately, he had a really bad connection, and he was reconnecting, and so by nobody's fault. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. Sometimes there's no such thing as everything going smoothly. There's always something glitchy,
especially when the portal shows up.
Yeah, I know.
Something's going sideways.
I do seriously starting to wonder that. Almost choked myself.
The portal curse.
Yeah, the portal curse, and and I was choking up at the same time, like, don't speak of it. But it's like I was on Phantom Faction podcast.
Right.
And we went through trying Zoom setup to Skype to, about 3 different setups. And there was so many problems. And they said, my God, we've never, ever had anything like this happen before. I'm thinking, oh, man, it sounds like Tuesday at the portal.
Yeah, exactly.
We always have that weird glitchy stuff happen. And I was thinking, God, maybe it's me. Maybe it's the portal that really screws up my involvement with other shows. But I don't know. Whatever it is, I still have fun doing it anyway.
That's right. Because if you can't have fun, it's not worth doing.
Yeah. Yep. I don't care what I am, what kind of list you got me on. I just want to be number 1. All right. So let's get into
the Lone Star of the Paranormal.
So the first article, well, actually, I had some email stuff I wanted to get into.
Oh, you got emails too? Awesome.
We did. We got a couple of good ones from our good friend Carrie, who's a listener of the show. And she sent this. And I guess I'm going to have to put it up on screen. Let me see here. Make it big. And move this over here. All right. So this is an email from Carrie, and I'm going to read it, and then I'll show you the pictures. And she said, this is Carrie from the comment section on YouTube and chat sometimes. I have a really cool pic that my cousin took when she was on a cruise. Her husband showed up in this picture that she took of the rainbows. She said that she had snapped the several pics at the same time. And let me do this. I'll put it here. Several pics at the same time as the ship was coming into the port. This man is not in any other photos she had taken, and she did not see him physically. Her husband, who looked just like this image, had passed away 8 months prior. They had been married nearly 40 years.
Wow. I'm
sending a comparison pic and then an edited one so the girl's face isn't showing. My cousin gave me permission to share, and I'm thrilled to share it with you. Pretty cool, huh? And I also have a lot of experiences I'd like to share. I'll call in sometime and chat with you. Okay, so here's the picture that she took from the cruise ship. This guy wasn't there, according to her. I mean, he's got to be, like, if he was not there when she took the picture.
That's solid flesh and blood right there.
Right, and is even casting a shadow on the railing.
Right.
I mean, if that is indeed a manifestation, and, it seems to me she would know if somebody was standing in her shot. Now, the comment is made that he looked exactly like her deceased husband. And here's the deceased husband.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and here's the better comparison photo. Let me drag this longer a little bit here. So, I mean, you can see that is very, 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 very similar.
Wow.
And she did not witness this person with her eyes. It only showed up in the picture. of them coming into port. She wanted to take a picture of the rainbows, and there it's a double rainbow, or maybe even triple. I don't know. There's another faint one there, it looks like. But this guy wasn't there, but he was in the photo. Even enough to create a shadow, which I would expect, being this manifest. But
right.
That is just intense. But you can see, when you look at the profiles, they are about identical. And even the ear is...
Yeah, I was about to say that myself.
Yeah, the ear is really identical too. And this person, if it was her husband, had died months prior to this cruise. So what an amazing experience. I'm just, literally impressed by this, because we often talk about, full physical manifestation and how that you wouldn't be able to tell. And many people have talked about meeting people and talking, and then all of a sudden they disappeared, and they couldn't tell that person wasn't there. Our own Maud, Diane, she talked of a story of, an older fella that was...
She was having a beer with him or something.
Yeah, she had a beer, but she said it was funny because he never touched his.
Right.
But they had a whole long conversation. And then she told her husband that guy stopped by, and he said, that's impossible. And she said, why? And he said, he's in the hospital in a coma.
Right.
So he manifests there. I guess he did eventually pull out of the coma and was released again, but it doesn't appear that he has any memory of that event.
Crazy.
So this is really incredible. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is awesome. I really love these kind of things. This is incredible. So, I mean, this is the stuff that people are experiencing, Yeah. And this is basically a family member. So it's not some embellished, tale of weirdness.
Right.
Very cool. And thank you so much for sending that in. And thank you for giving me permission to share it on the show. I really appreciate that. That's really exciting stuff. All right. So we've gotten into there. Oops, I did that. I got to reshrink it. Hold on. Got to get everything back in its place, Don.
Gosh. Pardon me all if I cough a little bit. I have my annual allergy / allergic to the smoke thing going on.
Yeah.
Got to clear the lungs out.
I understand. Just try to mute it, please.
Some people are so upset. What do you mean these masks don't filter out smoke? Well, let's think about that for a minute.
I'm not even going to get into what my opinion about all that is. But so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing I want to get into tonight is an article by our good friend Mr. Brent Swanser of Mysterious Universe. His articles are published on mysteriousuniverse.org, but he's a brilliant paranormal journalist, does these amazing articles. And his article we're going to touch base on tonight is Truly Bizarre Cases of Mass Vanishings. And this is mass vanishings. This is even weirder than the disappearing people, because this is a mass of people. And that's even creepier. So the article says, throughout history, there have been numerous cases of people who have simply ceased to exist, disappearing forever without explanation or resolution. Let me do this. I'm going to put it up on here, just because it feels more natural to...
It's more roomy.
Bring you guys into the experience. So, without explanation or resolution, these people are disappearing. It says, this is certainly spooky enough when it's just one person, but it becomes decidedly more bizarre when a large groups of people abruptly vanish to never be seen again. Indeed, some of the most baffling disappearances in history have to do with mass vanishings that seem to have swallowed up and wiped out hundreds or even thousands of souls. In some cases, whole towns, all of which remain gone, with few clues of what happened to them. Sounds like Coloma.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's like no story about what the hell happened there. They have apparently simply ceased to exist. What lies behind these tales and what forces may be at work to make crowds of people totally blink out of existence? Well, here we are to take a look at some of the more notable mysterious mass disappearances in history, in which a large number of people seem to have almost dissipated into thin air, and which have left profound mysteries and puzzles behind.
Is Roanoke one of those?
I don't know. I imagine that would make sense. Perhaps one of the most well-debated vanishings of all time comes to us from the cold expanses of the frigid north. Northern Canada is a harsh environment, in which to eke out a living. And here in this cold land of eternal relentless, icy, biting winds, there is once an Inuit village perched upon the stony shores of the remote Lake Anjikuni. I think I did that one good, Don.
Sounded good.
Okay, Anjikuni or Anjikuni.
Now he's killing it.
Yeah, I don't trust myself. When it comes to words I don't recognize, it's like, yeah. The settlement was a rather prosperous fishing village at the time, with a population of about 1,200 to 2,500 people.
Wow.
Who toiled away in the gnawing cold to make a living out there on the outer fringes of civilization. It was here that a fur trapper named Joel LaBelle came through snow and ice to seek refuge in November of 1930. After an arduous journey overland by snowshoe running trap lines, wow. LaBelle had apparently been to this village before and often relied on the warm welcome and supplies that he could expect to receive there. Yet, this was not to be a typical visit. It said, oh, there's a picture. Look at that.
That's the Inuit village.
Yeah. So it says, upon reaching the village, LaBelle found that no one was there to welcome his arrival, as was usually the case, and finding this rather odd already, he was soon overcome by sheer, almost deafening silence that emanated from the normally bustling village, as he stood there in the cold, buffeted by wind, with a glaring void of any other sound. You got to forgive me. The smoke is really rattling my asthma. None of the activity he had come to expect from this normally booming fishing town was anywhere to be seen, and his shouts out into the still village were answered by the howling of the wind. LaBelle cautiously made his way into the village, and it was not long before more eerie discoveries were made in the frigid, deathly silence. Excuse me. He passed a group of emaciated sled dogs dead in the snow, frozen solid and half buried in snowdrifts. Seemed to have starved to death out in the bleakness. A peek into several of the snow-caked shacks in which the villagers lived showed that personal items remained, as well as weapons such as rifles. And there were also meals on the tables and even pots that had been left cooking over the fires, whose charred contents had since gone cold, save for a few that hung out over some still smoldering embers. So it must have not been real long since they disappeared, right?
Yeah.
If the embers were still smoldering, right. Geez. Everything remained undisturbed and just as it had been left, and there was no sign of any struggle or anything out of the ordinary except for the fact that there was not a soul to be seen anywhere. For all appearances, it seemed as if someone should have been coming back at any moment, but no one did. It seemed that every single inhabitant of the village had simply vanished. When LaBelle left the ghostly silence behind and made his way back to civilization, he immediately reported the situation to the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who launched an investigation into the matter, and they would also find an abandoned village in which all of the huts and shacks had been left totally undisturbed and with all provisions and weapons left exactly where they were supposed to be. Even the storehouses had remained untouched, their contents sitting silently in the frigid and silent cold. The authorities also found the dead sled dogs tied to a tree and frozen into the landscape, and they made the further chilling discovery of sacred graves that had been apparently been emptied. Their contents nowhere to be seen. Indeed, there were no signs of tracks or footprints in the snow, and no indication of where everyone could have possibly gone. In the November 23rd, 1930 edition of the Toronto Daily Star, it is explained that the RCMP would return to confirm what LaBelle had claimed, and that the entire village had just spontaneously disappeared.
Wow.
Apparently with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Eerily, it was later alleged that other nearby villagers reported to the police there had been numerous sightings of strange lights in the skies over the abandoned village. Excuse me. Over the abandoned village in the days leading up to LaBelle's unsettling discovery. Although this is very likely a spooky element to the story added later to give it another dimension of bizarreness. Wow. So these people just disappeared, Don. Ay.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. It's almost like the hunting shack in Coloma. The table's still set.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was something that occurred to me when I was first in there. It's like, why does it still look like somebody will be walking in?
Right, no doubt.
The story of the vanishing Inuit village in Lake Anjukini has achieved legendary status in the world of the unexplained. In particular cases involving strange disappearances, the problem is that it is uncertain just how much of the tale has actually really happened and how much of it has been embellished or even flat out fabricated over time. It seems that there's very likely little truly reliable evidence or information which can shed light on just how much of this bizarre story is actually true. In the absence of any new developments and with little concrete information to go on, the vanished village of Lake Anjikuni will likely always remain just a scary story surrounded by questions which we will likely never know the answers to. So I wonder what happened with the property after that. Was it ever resettled or, what? That's what I'd be curious about, because you think if it's an Inuit village,
right?
Very spiritual people. So if something like that happened, I wouldn't expect other Inuits to kind of move in and go, hey, we got the good real estate. I think they'd stay away from it, right? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be for going back there and settling. I mean, mysterious disappearances are weird enough, but mass disappearances, that just doesn't go over well with me. No thanks. No. Yeah. I mean, there's only one of me. I mean, how many can they take, right? Just me, right?
There's just you.
That's bad enough. Thanks.
Yep. Well, as far as you're concerned, that's terrible. I mean, me too, don't get me wrong, but the village of Lake Anjikuni was certainly not the only settlement that has gone mysteriously missing. Indeed, one of the most well-known baffling vanishings in history is the strange case of the lost colony of Roanoke. Here you go, Don. Excuse me. Hold on, I got a cough.
Aaron, the estimated population was between 12 and 1,500, I believe. Is that correct for that Inuit village? Is that what he said? 12?
I think it was near 2,000. Okay. Let me look. Let me just go back up here. I think 1,200 to 2,500.
2,500, yeah.
So it was with,
so it's not a little tiny town. I mean, really, it's a city up there.
Right. I mean, this is just one photo, I assume, of the village. It may just be another photo of a village, but
true.
We don't know that this is an actual photo of it, but it sounds by description like the same kind of place.
Right.
Yeah, that's really creepy. All right, so now we're going to Roanoke, which is, of course, well discussed here in the lower 48. Roanoke Island in 1587, the first permanent English colony of the New World was established on the island of Roanoke, an 8-mile, 12-kilometer long, 2-mile, 3-kilometer wide sliver of land lying within a chain of barrier islands, rather, called the Outer Banks, and off the coast of the U.S. state of North Carolina. Around 120 settlers, including men, women, and children, braved hardship and a long sea journey to start a new life here. Led by a John White, whose own granddaughter, Virginia Dare, was to be the first English person born on the continent of North America. That's cool. Life in the new colony was hard, and the settlers faced severe, unforgiving weather and a lack of supplies, as well as a rocky relationship with the native tribes in the area due to confrontations with an earlier failed settlement here in 1584, which ended in violence. Things eventually got to the point where White was forced to return to England to load up on various things the colony desperately needed. As he said his goodbyes to friends and loved ones who would stay behind and sailed out over the horizon, White did not think that it would be long before he was back in the colony and family. The original plan was to return to the Roanoke colony within 3 months with the needed supplies. Jesus. Sorry about that. But there were some unforeseen obstacles. England's war with Spain had created a situation in which every available ship was needed for the war effort. Shipping had been banned due to the relentless attacks from the Spanish Armada, and subsequently, White's own ship was confiscated. Rather than the 3 months originally intended, White wouldn't return to Roanoke until August of 1590, around 3 years later than anticipated. Yeah, that's a lot of difference.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I'm just making all kinds of racket over here. When White finally sailed into Roanoke, he was not greeted with the sight of the community and loved ones he had left. In fact, he was not greeted by anyone at all. When White disembarked and had his men to search the village, he found that the settlement had been completely and utterly deserted. Homes had been utterly disassembled and removed, yet there was no trace of where all the settlers had gone, and it was as if the village had been erased from existence. A complete search of the area turned up only a few eerie clues. The word Croatoan, Croatoan, hastily carved into a tree with the letters CRO carved into another tree. Other than that, there was no signs of a struggle or anything amiss, other than the complete lack of any signs of life. They had simply vanished. There's an artist's rendition of the scene. While White surmised that the carved words meant that the settlers had relocated to an island to the south, now known as Hatteras Island, which at the time was the home of a tribe of friendly natives known as the Croatoan. Indeed, before his departure 3 years earlier, he had instructed the settlers that if they ever were forced to leave the island, they were to carve out the name of their destination into a tree, along with the Maltese cross, if there was a danger involved in their movement, such as an attack by hostile natives or a natural disaster. In both of the carvings found, there was no cross, marking it a mystery as to why they would have left in the first place. White had the full intention of making the journey to the Croatoan island, but he was besieged with foul weather and bedraggled crew who were uncooperative almost to the point of mutiny. Vanquished by these obstacles, White had no choice but to return to England, never to come back, and leaving the fate of the settlers, which includes his own daughter and granddaughter, unresolved. It is a mystery that centuries later we are still not really much closer to solving. There have been many theories as to what happened to the vanished lost colony of Roanoke Island. Some think that the settlers were attacked and killed by aggressive natives who did not take kindly to foreign settlers coming to invade their lands, and who had violent confrontation with foreign settlers before. Others think that a mysterious disease killed off the colonists, which is an odd theory, considering there was not a single body or grave to be found. Still, other theories point to some violent cataclysm, such as a hurricane, that they were attacked by a marauding Spanish forces scouring the coast, or even that if they tried to leave the New World to sail back to England, only to be swallowed into a watery grave by the sea. It is also quite possible that the settlers did indeed go to Hatteras Island to assimilate with the natives there, just as White had predicted. Over the ensuing centuries, there have been occasional frustrating clues as to what happened to the colonists, but no answer is really ever congealed. And for all the speculation, we ultimately just don't know. Until more concrete evidence becomes available, the mystery of Roanoke Island's lost colony will perhaps forever elude us.
Have you ever heard of the Dare Stones?
No, that doesn't sound familiar.
The Dare Stones. Let me read this. It's just a couple paragraphs, but bear with me a moment.
Oh, sure.
The famous and to some infamous Dare Stones have been part of Brno University lore since the late 1930s. It's a collection of a large number of engraved rocks that emerged at the height of the Great Depression, purporting to solve the mystery of the lost colony of Roanoke.
Oh.
A group of settlers on the island off the coast of North Carolina that disappeared without a trace in the 16th century. Although most of the stones are generally regarded as artifacts of artifice, the first remains of great interest to historians and archaeologists. It appears to have a message from one of the colonists, Eleanor White Dare, his granddaughter.
Okay.
His daughter, to her father, John White, the colony's governor, who returned to America from a 3-year trip to England to find his daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter missing along with all the others he had left at Roanoke. Here's the transcript of the carving on the rock. Ananias Dare, Virginia went hence unto heaven, 1591. Annie English show John White, governor, via. So basically, if you find this, give it to John White.
Okay.
And basically, it's saying Ananias, Dare, and Virginia went to heaven. Okay, so died, right?
Yeah.
1591. The second, the other side, it says, Father, soon after you go for England, we can. It's bad spelling, but I'll do the best I can to clean it up. Father, soon after you go to England, we came hither. Honestly misery and worn, half dead, here, 2 more years from sickness, been 24, so that's a time frame. Mm-hmm. Salvage the message of ship unto us. Small space of time, they freet a revenge ran all away. So they ran all away. We believe it not you. Soon after, ye savages feigned spirits angry. Sudden mother all save 7. So I think that means sudden. They saved 7. Mm-hmm. Mine child, Ananias to slain, much misery. Bury all near 4 mile estate, this river upon high hill. It says hill. Name writ all there on rock. Put this there also. Salvage shew this unto you. Hither we promise you give great plenty presents. EWD, which is, of course, Eleanor White Dare.
Wow.
This stone, regarded by most authorities as the only Dare stone, surfaced in 1937. A California man who found it while driving through the Carolina coastal region delivered the 21-pound rock engraved with the strange markings to the history department of Emory University. Through a curious series of events, the stone wound up in Brenu, thanks to the curiosity of Emory history professor Hayward Pierce Jr., who was also vice president at Brenu, the son of the school's owner and president, Hayward Pierce. Pierce Sr. agreed, when Emory would not, to acquire the stone and foot the bill of further inquiry into the authenticity. After the Pierces advertised that they would pay a reward for any other stones with strange markings, Bureau's collection grew, and the process of unraveling the mystery became more complex. So basically what happened was, this guy, what was his name? It didn't actually mention his name, was driving along the Carolina coast and found this 21-pound rock.
Wow.
And so he gave it to the Emory University. They researched it. And then they said they were looking for more. If there's more, they would pay a reward. Well, I guess the guy came up with like 37 other stones that had this kind, had a similar carving on it.
They're hanging around like Post-it notes.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like, breadcrumbs. He found one here. He found one down the way. He found one down the way. There was one or two here or there.
How much is this one worth?
So through the academics, let me say, the academics believe that the first one
is legitimate.
Is the most legitimate of them all. Huh. They say that the others were forged or were possibly forged. Huh. And like I said, I think there was a collection of 37 that the person eventually came up with. And they kept paying him until they decided, well, you know what? This is getting kind of, you use the term orgy of evidence.
Yeah.
It's becoming a little unbelievable. So the Dare Stones, there you go.
Huh. Interesting. I'd never heard of those. That's very cool. That would be kind of neat to have some kind of information about what that's all about, but very, very wild. I guess we'll move to the next one.
It's one of those bits of information, I know.
Yeah, but it's interesting because otherwise it's just this weird, evaporating people.
Yeah, exactly.
And homes and everything. It's just gone. So if there's a narrative that, there's got to be a story, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
there's got to be something more.
Yep, that's pretty cool. It's nice to have another piece of that puzzle anyway. So let's continue on with more of these strange disappearings of mass people disappearing. How is that? Let's see. Let's get me back on here. Let's get this back on here. All right. Another curious account of a disappearing settlement is that of the village of Verde in Brazil. Verde, I don't know. Verde in Brazil. On February 5th, 1923, a group of visitors to this small hamlet of 600 people were amazed to discover that there was not a soul to be found anywhere in the town, and homes and other buildings had been abandoned in great haste, with personal belongings and food left behind, as is. Authorities launched an investigation but could find no sign of where any of the inhabitants had gone. Only clues that were left behind were a single gun that had been recently fired and a message scrawled on a blackboard that read, "There is no salvation." Oh, that's horrible.
That's not cryptic or anything.
Yeah. Theories of what happened to the 600 vanished residents in Verde range from the plausible notion that they were forced to evacuate due to attacks from roving guerrilla and drug dealers. Yeah, that's probably likely. To the more far-out ideas that they were abducted by aliens. But there is unfortunately very little evidence to make any conclusions, and the case of Brazil's vanishing village remains a baffling conundrum. Joining the ranks of the bizarre mass disappearances are those of large amounts of soldiers that, for reasons left unexplained, have vanished without a trace. Perhaps the most well-known of these cases is that of the mysterious disappearances of the Roman Ninth Legion. Formed originally in around 65 BC, the Ninth Legion was the most ruthless and greatly feared fighting force in the Roman Empire's military, consisting of around 5,000 of the empire's most skilled and highly trained fighting men, pulled from a variety of countries, and by the 2nd century AD, the extremely well-armed, highly trained army of the Ninth Legion had laid waste to enemies in far-flung locales as far and wide as Africa, Germania, Spain, the Balkans, and Britain, and were instrumental in maintaining Rome's iron grip across the vast empire. Indeed, in the 2nd century AD, the Ninth Legion was at the tip of the spear that Rome was trying to drive into the insurgents from untamed rampaging tribes of painted-faced barbarians churning with Britain at the time. It was a conflict that would test Rome's might, as it was suffering great losses here against barbarian hordes and struggling to keep Britain under its control. Mm-hmm. In particular, under the reign of Emperor Hadrian, AD 117 to AD 130, the Romans were losing large numbers of soldiers to the bloody battlefields of Britain, and the whole engagement was so extremely worrying to leaders in Rome that they would eventually erect a huge wall called Hadrian's Wall to keep the enemy out. It was into this horrific maelstrom of fighting and turmoil that the Ninth Legion marched in around 109 AD, when they pushed forth into what is now known as Scotland to face an enemy that terrified most soldiers. With their primitive face paints streaked across fierce visages, attire of ragged bear and wolf skins over substantial bear flesh, even in the middle of winter, fierce tattoos, booming war drums, and their mystical shamans howling prayers to ancient Celtic gods in the midst of battle. These barbarians were seen as a ruthless enemy, the likes of which no one had ever seen before. Yet the Ninth Legion bravely marched forth to engage and push them north. The vast force was heavily armored soldiers, would go forth to engage and would never be seen again. Mm-hmm. Thousands of men gone without a trace, not a single one ever to be accounted for. The disappearances would go on to grip the public's imagination with the publishing of such works as Rosemary Sutcliffe's 1954 book, The Eagle of the Ninth, which was an instant bestseller when released. The mystery of the missing Roman Ninth Legion has become legend, and a baffling historical oddity that has never really seen a satisfactory answer. There are, of course, many theories as to what happened to the Roman Ninth Legion. One of the more plausible ones put forward by historians is that there was nothing mysterious going on at all, chalking it up to the Legion merely slowly transferring to other battlefields in Britain or the Middle East, or even disbanding altogether. The legends of Scotland like to portray a different scenario, that the well-equipped formidable. Let me get this little baby spider going right down in front of my monitor. Formidable Roman fighting force was whittled away by tenacious guerrilla attacks by the very under-equipped primitive forces they were trying to eradicate. Some rumors that leaked from the battlefield at the time suggested that a catastrophic battle had... you getting him? Yeah, there he is. A catastrophic battle that had ensued between the Roman forces and the Celtic tribes, which had resulted in devastating repercussions. However, for all the theories, there is little archaeological evidence to settle the matter once and for all. All we know is that, for whatever reason, Rome's most exalted, feared fighting force totally disappeared from the records, only to move on into the realm of mystery and legend.
Yes.
God, he did a good job writing this.
Yeah. He's a spectacular writer.
It's really fascinating, the amount and depth he goes into. The disappearance of the Romans' Ninth Legion continues to capture the imagination. It's been covered in a wide variety of media, from books to TV to film. Recently, 2 films devoted to exploring the conundrum were released practically back-to-back. In the 2010 film Centurion, followed 1 year later by 2011's The Eagle, both giving different takes on the disappearances. Yet, for all the theories, debate, and speculation, the tale of the vanishing of Rome's Ninth Legion is still unresolved and will likely continue to bore its way into the myth and legend for some time to come. Yeah, that's bizarre. 5,000 of these trained warriors, and not one ever heard of again?
Not one.
Yeesh.
As a matter of fact, they're trying to find the eagle, the head of the staff of the eagle. I think there was some story that said they had found the eagle, the symbol of the Ninth Legion, which is like this big eagle that, oddly enough, the Third Reich, the Nazis used a similar type of thing on top of their flagpoles and things. But there was I thought there was a story I read years ago about somebody had thought they had found the eagle, and these are like 5 feet long, and they're solid gold. They're carried on poles. That somebody had tried to, or somebody claimed that they had found one from the Ninth Legion.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sure. There's still a lot of artifacts still buried in those old battlefields, if they're not completely, worn away from time.
Yeah. Or pilfered.
Yeah, well, there's that. Similarly baffling vanishing of an entire military force is said to have occurred in China sometimes around the year of 1937. This was during the Second Sino-Japanese War, when China was about to be subjected to the abject cruelty and barbarity of what has become known ominously as the Rape of Nanking, in which invading Japanese forces in the then Chinese capital city of Nanjing, now Nanking, over a 6-week period in 1937, mercilessly massacred an estimated 40,000 to 300,000 civilians in a killing, looting, and widespread rage in the days leading up to this tragic stain on history. Chinese Colonel Li Fu-shin had been engaged in a desperate effort to staunch the coming invasion by placing 3,000 heavily armed reinforced troops along a 2-mile line in order to defend a major strategic bridge over the Yangtze River, where they waited for the inevitable Japanese onslaught. The defensive line set up artillery and heavy guns in the hopes of unleashing them upon their ruthless enemy, and the colonel himself fell back to his headquarters to await the attack he knew was coming. The following morning, the colonel was awoken by an aide who brought news that all contact with the defensive position had been lost. Baffled, Li Fu-shen had an expedition launched to the line to check on the current situation, and this is where things got bizarre indeed. When the investigation team arrived, it became apparent that the entire line of over 3,000 men was simply and totally gone. Posts were completely abandoned, and artillery and heavy guns had been left where they were, fully loaded, locked in firing position, but dead and unused. There was no sign of blood or a struggle of any kind, indeed no sign at all as to where everyone had gone at all. It was as if the men had just blinked out of existence. 2 sentries far away from the end of the bridge were still at their posts and claimed that no one had come through that way. In fact, there were several sentry posts set up throughout the area, and none had seen any sort of movement from the large force of men. How could they have silently and stealthily have moved without any word to their superiors and without notice by these sentry posts? In the aftermath of the war, there were some efforts made to reach some closure to what happened to these 3,000 plus armed men, but Japanese records held no hint as to their ultimate fate, and it remains a perplexing, unsolved mass disappearance to this day. Considering that the Chinese have done everything within their power to cover up and hide the various atrocities committed in China during the war.
I'm sorry. You said China. It says Japan.
Oh, the Japanese have done. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. The Japanese have done everything in their power to cover up and hide the various atrocities committed in China during the war. It is highly likely that we will never know for sure what happened to these troops. Further weirdness came about in the following years when, 1945, a train carrying hundreds of passengers heading from Guangdong to Shanghai, China, failed to reach its destination, and intensive searches turned up no trace of where the train or its people had gone. Just gone. Wow. The only thing turned up of note during the search for the train was an odd lake that had seemingly sprung up from nowhere. In November of the same year, a group of around 100 Soviet forces headed for a train station suddenly and inexplicably vanished en route. A subsequent investigation turned up a camp that had been halfway set up and a fire that had been put out, but no sign of where the men had gone. That's just creepy. I mean, if it's one person, yeah, okay, ooh, that's spooky. When it's hundreds or thousands of people,
that's what I'm saying.
That's just way off the charts weird.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying too. We're both saying. What lies at the heart of these sorts of mass vanishings? Is there some rational explanation as there's something far more bizarre than we can possibly imagine at work here? There have been numerous theories as to what may lie behind these mysterious disappearances, ranging from meteorite strikes to spontaneous earthbound black holes or interdimensional portals that open up, swallowing large numbers of people before flickering out of existence. 2 UFOs and even an ancient Greek god known as Proteus, who is said to be a vast mass of protoplasm that lies dormant deep in the bowels of the earth to occasionally surface to feed. The Proteus theory was, in modern days, suggested by the author Dean Koontz, who wrote of this as an explanation for mass disappearances. In his horror novel Phantoms, Koontz explains, it is an enormous mass of protoplasm covered maybe an area of some square kilometers, some millions of years of age. It is probably one of the very first forms of life existing in the entrails of the earth or deep in the ocean. Once or twice in a century, it eats people, dissolving and digesting them almost entirely. Deep pools of water were found in the huts of Roanoke County, or Roanoke Colony, rather. A Chinese pilot searching for a missing train spotted from the air a small lake that seemed to emerge from nowhere. Frozen water was found in the huts of an abandoned small Eskimo village on the shores of Lake Anjikuni in Canada in 1930. The human body is 90% water, and that was perhaps all of what was left of the dissolved victims of Proteus. Well, that's creepy. That's a really creepy thought. Could any of this possibly be that bizarre? What are we to make of the sudden inexplicable vanishings of hundreds or even thousands of people? Are we ever to know the fate of these lost, forgotten souls? Did they ever even happen at all? Or is this all just some spooky superstition wrapped into history? While we may not have, and perhaps never will have, the answers to these questions, it is certainly compelling and not a little frightening to think about the notion that at times the world we live on potentially has the ability to open up and just swallow us up or wipe us off the face of the earth without a trace.
There you go.
Woof. That was a hell of an article.
Yeah. And it's just incredible. It's you think about things like that. There was even an X-Files, but it was talking about a mold at that time. They'd gone into the forest looking for this thing, and they ended up, laying down and falling into this, this kind of a fairy glamour
Realm.
Well, not necessarily. A realm, but. And then the implication was that the earth spit him back out as bones. But anyhow, but the idea of the earth opening up and taking you and, doing these weird things, dissolving you into like, Soylent Green, whatever. It actually, when you're reading that, I was thinking about the movie Waterworld.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Costner.
Yeah, and they were recycling the body.
Oh, yeah, yes. That's right.
And that's what I was thinking of while you were reading that. I was like, wow. Wow. And of course, Cthulhu came up in the conversation. So,
Well, there you have it. Or at least Proteus in this case. But yeah.
Well, Cthulhu came up in the chat. So
oh, did he?
Leave it to Duke to bring up Cthulhu.
The loving embrace of Cthulhu.
Or the parts of the Cthulhu mythos. So, but anyhow.
Listen, I need to use the loo, so we're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back at it in just a couple minutes. Please be patient. Hurry back as quickly as I can. So don't go away. There's more. I got another whole article of disappearances that I think is quite interesting.
And awesome so far.
I think you will as well. So just stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
We'll be back.
Which one should we play? Which one?
I don't know.
Come on, give me one of them.
Visitors. The first one.
Okay. All right. Here you go. Getting a little techno. All right, everybody, we are back. Thank you for your patience as we took care of business up here in the portal, you know what I'm saying? But I hope you're enjoying the journey so far. We've got about an hour left. First hour just kind of flew, didn't it, Don?
Yes, it did.
Why, yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
Well, we are talking primarily about disappearances. Of course, that's mass disappearances is kind of a topic that we've never really covered before. So that was kind of fun. I didn't realize there were so many. You know, I guess as we were going through them, it's like, oh, I heard about the Ninth Legion. I remember hearing something of that ages ago.
Right.
And then Roanoke, of course, but I never knew about the Inuits and the Chinese soldiers and the missing train and all of this. It's bizarre.
The missing train was a new one to me. I heard that one.
So I don't know what you guys all think about it, but again, I guess the one thing I've taken away from doing this show is that there's a hell of a lot going on out here.
Yeah.
We just don't know so much. We don't know so much. And I think that's the takeaway for me. But we got more to go here, and let's get into that. Let's cut into this one. And then we're going to just talk about the other and more. And more. There's one more article I want to cover about these disappearances, and this is one case of a disappearance, also covered by our good friend Brent Swanser, and again on mysteriousuniverse.org. It's published. Special thanks to both Brent Swanser and Mysterious Universe for allowing us to use it. Appreciate it a bunch. Check out Mysterious Universe, of course, is a great site and an amazing podcast as well. So not only is the portal good, but Mysterious Universe is good too. So let's get into this, and this is called Mysterious Vanishings in the Wild West, or Vanishing in the Wild West. So let's see what it says. Some cases of missing people have become almost legendary, and usually these cases are those that revolve around people who are especially important or in high places. These are the people who one would think would be beyond such things as vanishing off the face of the earth, but it has certainly happened many times before. One curious case is that of an important attorney and politician who went off into the Badlands and never returned, leaving a persistent unsolved mystery in his wake. Born in Staten Island, New York in 1838, the soldier, attorney, and politician known as Albert Jennings Fountain had quite a colorful life, to be sure. After traveling the world and then studying law in California, Fountain then worked as a reporter for the Sacramento Union, and at one point being nearly executed in Nicaragua on a job before fleeing back to California. During the American Civil War, after which he enlisted in the Union Army as an officer in the California column, taking part in many important engagements, such as the conquest of the Confederate territory in Arizona, as well as the Battle of Apache Pass, in which he was at one point seriously wounded by Apache warriors and barely escaped with his life. He would eventually reach the rank of captain before being discharged, before finally settling with his family in El Paso, Texas. He would eventually have 9 children with his wife. That's a family tree.
Yeah.
Mariana Perez, and after the war, he took on various roles, such as working for the United States Property Commission as an election judge and an assessor and collector of internal revenue with the Internal Revenue for the Western District of Texas. Sorry, there's a picture of that man, and quite the accomplished guy. I mean, geez. His life story is like 15 lives nowadays. It's crazy. He's done so much. But Fountain would go on to enter the world of politics, and his colorful life would continue. In 1869, he joined the Texas Senate, serving in the 12th and 13th Texas legislatures, during which time he was instrumental in passing a bill that reinstated the Texas Rangers, who had been disbanded during the Civil War. His extreme Republican political views made him no small number of enemies, and he participated in at least one duel in which he killed a man named B. Frank Williams on December 7th, 1870. He would move to Missoula in 1873, and his wife and 5 children at the time, and he became a trial lawyer, going on to be appointed assistant district attorney, and he also served as probate judge and deputy count clerk.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's like, geez, he's wearing some hats. It was during this time that Fountain would find some amount of notoriety in representing the infamous outlaw Billy the Kid at his murder trial in 1881, a case that Fountain lost. He would then be elected to the New Mexico territorial legislature, and from here, he would be embroiled in prosecuting a series of federal land fraud cases and corruption, as well as many cases of cattle rustling, notably securing grand jury indictments against rancher Oliver Lee, Bill McNew, and 21 others on charges of cattle rustling, often locking horns with his arch nemesis, attorney United States Senator from New Mexico and the Secretary of the Interior, Albert Bacon Fall, who was a judge and a leader of New Mexico's Democrats. There were certainly people who were not pleased with Fountain, and a court witness at the trial of Lee would say, throughout the proceedings, Fountain had the feeling of being closely watched in the courtroom, on the streets of Lincoln, and in the hotel lobby at night, as he visited with friends. During a recess of the final day of court, an anonymous messenger handed him a crudely written note. It warned, if you drop this, we will be your friends. If you go on with it, you will never reach home alive. Dun, dun, dun. I'm smelling motive here, Don.
Yep.
Fountain certainly made himself more than a few enemies at this time, and it is perhaps this that would lead to the mysteries to come. Sorry, I'm screwing that all up. On February 1st, 1896, Fountain finished a court session, assisting the prosecution in bringing charges against Lee and William McNew, and he headed home from Lincoln, New Mexico, back to his home in Missoula. Along with his 8-year-old son, Henry, they departed in a sturdy covered wagon but would never arrive at their destination, seemingly vanishing somewhere in the region of White Sands. The horses of Fountain's wagon team were found on the Tularosa Las Cruces Road, along with the wagon, seemingly some empty bullet casings, some of Fountain's papers, 2 pools of blood, a blood-soaked handkerchief, and 2 powder-blackened coins. On Fountain and his son, there was no sign, nor even the Winchester rifle that he had been carrying with him, and rumors and speculation spread like wildfire. One idea was that some outlaw had been responsible, notably Tom Blackjack Ketchum and his gang, but others laid the blame firmly on the shoulders of the rancher Oliver M. Lee, who had been relentlessly prosecuted by Fountain, along with 2 of his employees named Jim Gilliland and William Billy McNew. An actual posse was put together by the lawman Pat Garrett to hunt Lee and his gang down, which ended in a gun battle that killed a deputy sheriff, Kent Kearney, and they went on the run before negotiating their surrender. However, as the bodies of Fountain and his son were never found, and there was little evidence other than the famous animosity that Fountain and Lee had towards each other, they were never officially convicted of the vanishings and were acquitted, probably in no small part, due to the fact that their defense was the hotshot lawyer, Albert Fall. Indeed, no one was at all ever convicted in the case, and for all intents and purposes, Fountain and his son just evaporated into history. There would be some alluring clues in later years, such as the admission in 1937 from none other than Gilliland himself, who admitted that he, Lee, and others had indeed killed Fountain and his boy. But the area where the bodies were said to have been buried turned up nothing. In the end, neither Fountain nor his boy have ever been seen again, and we are left to wonder just what happened to them. Was this foul play? And if so, who orchestrated it? Was it the ranchers, outlaws, or some other random nefarious party? Considering neither Fountain nor his boy have ever been found, it will perhaps remain a mystery forevermore. That one to me seems less paranormal by a long shot.
There's a phone call.
There's a phone call?
We got a phone call.
We got a live one.
Oh my gosh. Fish on.
Set the hook. All right, let's get to the call. And this is area code 586. You're on the air.
Well, hello, gentlemen.
Hi. Who are we speaking to?
You are talking to Gemini from the
Gemini.
chat.
Aw, welcome to the show.
Hi,
Good to hear from
Gem.
you.
Hi, guys. It's like calling the Monty Python show. You guys are so funny. So
That's awesome.
I know, right? So I came in a little bit late, but I came in when everybody in the chat was like talking about energy fields.
Oh,
And all of a sudden, I'm like, I have been seeing this energy field for about the past week that has just been absolutely spectacular, you guys.
Oh, cool.
Just every day. Like I can look out just my window and I can see blue, green, pink, and it's all kind of intermingled, and it's really cool. And what I was seeing was when people were breathing in, it was taking this energy into their body and actually transforming and transmuting things.
Wow.
Henceforth, I think maybe the mass conspiracy comes in. If you can't breathe this liquid light energy, then you can't really transmute. So that's kind of been my thought for the past week, and I continue to see it. It's beautiful.
Wow. That's really amazing. What do you think? Transmuting in what way do you think?
I think it's transmuting human DNA. I think it's taking humanity maybe to another level, because the energy that I'm seeing that's coming into people's bodies is, you can just see the energy being released. Like if something's stuck in their system, I can see it, them breathing it in, the energy going down to the part maybe where there's an infliction, then maybe doing a little dance down there. And then all of a sudden, when they exhale, it's leaving their body. And I'm watching this physically with a lot of my clients. When I would have to do this energetically wise to do this intention, it's now just happening naturally.
Oh, neat. Wow, that's really cool. Powerful stuff, huh?
Yeah, to the ones that are accepting, and wanting, that's what I'm finding.
So are you seeing that the energy is absorbed, or are you seeing that it's exhaled just as it was inhaled, and it just comes in and does its thing and then leaves, or has it become part of the people?
It's becoming a part of their system, but I'm also watching that if there is something that has to leave the system, that energy is also taking it out of the system.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So it's actually, it's a good question. It's a twofold system.
That's really wild. I mean, there's no doubt there's a lot of transmuting necessary right now. I think that things are kind of been on their head for a very long time. But do you feel that we are globally in a situation of transmutation and of vibrational shift?
I do.
Yeah,
I can feel it. Yeah. I believe the sun has been maybe more natural than it's ever been.
Oh.
I feel that everything is returning much more to organic, especially with Mother Nature, when you're seeing the stuff taking place in Mother Nature. Now, yeah, there's a lot of different things happening out in the world. I think that's kind of a cleansing.
Right.
But I do feel that humanity is returning to a much more organic way of life.
Right.
And it's there in everything that we look at, everything that we touch, as long as you're aware of it.
Yeah. I got to ask you a question, since you seem to be pretty geared towards, health and better living and stuff. I've been noticing this for a while. Like, I used to buy bread, and we're not huge bread eaters here, but we eat bread. And, usually get about 2/3 done with the loaf and have to throw it because, of course, there's mold everywhere inside. There's mold. But for the longest time, I'll buy bread and buns or whatever, and they don't mold anymore. And I'm wondering, do you think that's maybe chemically something that they're doing with the foods, or what do you think is going on there? Because my bread doesn't mold anymore.
How does it taste? Does it taste that way to you? Because there's a lot of food I can't eat anymore. I used to be able to eat things 3 months ago that I can't eat anymore.
Huh. Well, I don't really have a very discerning palate, so I don't know if I'm a good judge of how it tastes. I mean, it tastes like bread.
Sausage.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, it's just I just noticed that it's not molding anymore.
Right.
It's like I'll have bread in my pantry for like 6 months and go look, and it's still bread. It's like this stuff should be like Frankenloaf in here, and it looks like it's fresh from the store. And I'm like, God, there's got to be something going on.
That's wild.
Right? Okay. Well, I just
That's
wondered.
wild. Now, I have not experienced that. I've experienced my bread has gone moldy, but it's going moldy faster. So I've experienced the opposite.
Oh, that's funny, huh? Yeah, I'm just perplexed by this. And
Bread is not food.
it's not food.
It's not food.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's not. I eat bread so rarely that I might as well just throw it away.
My bread says it's food.
So does your processed cheese
Yes,
food.
that's true. That's definitely foods, Don. Quit attacking my diet.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I just noticed that it seems like our stuff is changing, and I don't know if it's just something in the world that's changing. I think it's more likely there's newer chemicals in our foods that concern me quite a bit, because God only knows. And the thing that always frightens me is that, to put things into foods, if they don't mold, then what else don't they do? Do they digest, or you know what I mean? It's like if nature's not breaking it down the way it normally does, then what's it doing inside of me?
Right.
So it's definitely got me leaning towards a more organic lifestyle. I think I think you're right. I think people are edging towards better living, better health. I think the soft drink industry has probably taken the biggest hits ever, because people just aren't interested in drinking
Now they're drinking energy drinks.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother issue, but I don't know. I think honestly, some people are just trying to get a buzz off of it, But I don't know. It's just things are certainly changing,
You can feel it, and I know from myself, I can't eat, like I said, the foods I could eat like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's more of a digestive thing. It's more of my body saying, no, that's got some major chemicals in it.
Right.
And then my body doesn't react good to it. So I've really had to change my diet a lot. And I have gone more vegetarian. And I actually feel a lot better.
Yeah, that seems to be a really gaining a lot of traction lately too, which that's pretty impressive. I got to admit, I don't think I could ever do without meat, but I mean, just really, I've just always been a carnivore my whole life.
You guys remember that I was a vegetarian for 6 years, right?
I wouldn't know. I didn't know that.
I'm sure I've said it before.
Wow.
Yeah,
You might have.
I was. I'm not any longer, because I couldn't get away from bulk sausage. Pork sausage is like a pain.
Don loves his sausage too.
I love my bulk sausage.
Oh, he doesn't like small sausage. He likes big sausage. Okay, that explains a lot. Well, there you go.
I like it in mass quantities.
Aren't you glad you called in? Listen to what you get to be a part of.
Well, she accused us of acting like Monty Python, so she deserves it.
She's getting it all.
Right? I love that I get to laugh with you guys. Now I'm enjoying it.
That is pretty interesting, though. All of the stuff, and Paisley's talked about it on her show. I think she talked about it on her show called The End of an Age, where everything's just kind of going nuts, and it goes out like a lion, and that's certainly what 2020's been so far. I just hope 2021 doesn't say, here, hold my beer, Yeah. And, out like a lion, in like a lamb. I hope the lion gets over it really quick, because this is insane. And the energy shifting, yes, the energy shifts. You can feel it. You can walk down the street and just go through like microclimates of, energy. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. That's we're all in a state of flux, I think, is what it is. I just had to use eye drops. My eyes are starting to burn. So, but yeah, Jim, it's great to hear from you. I'd like you to call in more often.
Thanks, guys. It was good talking to you guys.
Absolutely.
It's great talking
nice
to you,
hearing
lady.
from you.
Take care, and we'll be around if you want to call.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Hey, look, there's another one. Guess who that one is?
I know.
Gosh.
I can't see it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you, it's from New York.
New York City.
New York City. Well, not New York City, New York State, up by the Finger Lakes.
Get a
All
rope. All right, so let's get him on the horn here. Let's hear what Carlton's got to say. Carlton, we're talking food stuff. What do you got to say, brother?
Yeah, you got me going. I just heard a talk yesterday from Advancing Eco Agriculture with a guy named Bob Quinn, who's a farmer out in the Midwest. And the talk is Rebuilding Rural Economies with Ancient Grain and Regenerative Practices with Bob Quinn.
Okay.
Excellent talk. And they specifically address the energy component of ancient grains versus some of the new modern grains. And along those lines, there's a number of factors, I think, acting on why your bread isn't molding anymore.
Okay.
So, number one, you have GMO crops going on out there. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of newer crops that have been developed more for productivity, and nutrition was never a factor in those breeding processes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're only looking at how much yield can we get, not does it contain all the phytonutrients that we need for healthy, healthy digestion, healthy life. Uh-huh. And then in addition to that, you have the pesticide pressures. And then once you get out of the field from the farm, all along that supply chain, you have exposure to plastics and other chemicals in the environment. Mm-hmm. And then when you finally get into the bread, you have anti-caking agents, anti-molding agents, and on down the list. So you have a complex chain of synergistic stacks of things that kill biology, and that's why you don't see any biology in your bread.
But it makes great sandwiches.
No, it doesn't.
No, that's true. I figured that must be the case.
I love bread too, man.
Yeah, I know. But I figured that was the case because, I mean, if mold's not growing on it, there's something really wrong with this bread, So, and granted, it was some cheap stuff. It's like, hey, buy 3 loaves for $1 or something.
Which should have molded within minutes of opening. Open it, all the germs.
Yeah, it just deflates. Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, I mean, it was a little shocking, and I'm like, God, I don't think this is good. So
no, it's not good. And I'm not saying, I think cheapness is a factor in that, actually, and I'm not saying that, it doesn't make sense to try and get good prices on food, but I think you also get what you pay for. If you're buying cheap food, they're using the cheapest product they can get. Right. That's not going to be the high nutrition stuff. Right. And then in addition to that, they're going to add chemicals to it to make sure that, their product doesn't go bad before someone can buy it.
Sure.
So,
I mean, a longer shelf life.
There's a lot of complex issues involved there.
Sure. Again, it's not whether they should, it's whether they can that motivates it. So
well, and you were talking about biology, I mean, and why there's no mold on the bread, there's no biology there. The yeast is dead. The flour is processed, overly processed, and then where the hell was I going with this?
I'm not sure. I think cooking kills yeast, doesn't it?
Well, but you talked. Okay, so you were talking about the stacks and how it leaches the energy, and you've mentioned this kind of the same thing with water when you talk about water and the difference between living water and dead water. It's the same kind of thing. You process, and it no longer becomes good for the human biome. It just isn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then if you go back to water, even after you bake bread, if bread doesn't have any moisture content, it's a rock, right? So you have moisture there. Mm-hmm. So now you tie that water component into that. Mm-hmm. What do you got here? You got a formula for disaster, really. You got water that's being charged with negative energies, bad energies. You got dead food. Like you compound this all up and you put chemicals with it. Yeah, of course you're going to have a problem. Of course you're going to have all sorts of gluten intolerances and people getting sick, inflammation, all those things.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I had to comment because you were talking about the bread. I couldn't resist.
I know we're in your wheelhouse. We said our farmer action words. those are where you solicit your phone call. All right, brother. Well, thank you.
Those keywords rang my alarm bells.
We appreciate your knowledge.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
To you guys.
Okay,
Thank
take care.
So Chatter Bim Jim in the chat says, I have a degree in organic chemistry, and I agree with him.
Oh,
so
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, just straight out,
Wow.
We're killing ourselves slowly with the food that they're killing us with. How do you like that?
It's a sweet death.
Yeah. Only if it's like Hawaiian sweet bread, right?
That's what it is. Actually. No, that stuff I never gets old enough to. I don't know if it's molding. It was actually hamburger buns. It was like I made hamburgers and I was like, oh, I'll get some buns, and you use like 3 of them.
Here's how often I eat bread. I buy bread like 2 or 3 loaves at a time, and it sits in my freezer so long, it's no longer edible when I get to it. It's like half of it's like freezer burned, and the other half's like fresh right in the center, and it's just disgusting. So
it's got to peel off the edges and eat the core.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're cutting the mold off cheese, right? Still all right. Just throw that away.
Just whittle it off. There you go.
Hopefully cheese still has mold. Velveeta doesn't, but let's not talk about that.
No, that stuff just gets hard. It like just turns into like bricks, It's what?
I can't say that. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please keep it family friendly here. Well, there you have it. Lots of weirdness. Foods are weird. People are disappearing, and the portal is humming. So life is good, and quite a few of you here with us tonight. Thank you all for being here and being a part of the journey. Yeah.
Hey, Santino. Santino called the show. He's in chat right now, and he called the show like a year ago. I don't know. So anyhow, but he was talking about an experience he had. He had a video, and it had to do with the Jersey Devil. You remember that story?
Oh yeah.
Okay, he just posted the video on his Facebook of what he videotaped that night. I'm going to drop the link again. Go check that out. Now, I haven't had a chance to look at it myself because he just got it up. So I went over there. I grabbed the link. It's now in the
chat.
The chat. There you go. And because people had been asking about seeing this video, so there you go. Maybe Santino. Maybe you guys can go back in the archive and find that Santino call. Unfortunately, I can't remember where it is. But maybe Santino can call in some later time and retell the story, and then we've got the link.
That'd be cool, because I'd like to put that together. That was a cool call. Very cool.
It was, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some more of the more. More of the more here on the Paranormal Portal.
Oh.
And I got some there's a Bigfoot sighting, Don.
Gosh.
There's a Bigfoot sighting
is this?
by woman in Eagle Meadow above Strawberry.
Oh.
It's Tuolumne County, California. Let's see, what the hell is this? This is coming from Squatchable.com, and this is from November of 1997, so it's quite a while ago. But I like going over these old reports, too, because I think they're kind of fun. It's not really long. So we're just going to read this quick. It says, my husband and I were hunting in Sonora. Our location was Eagle Meadows, which is above Strawberry, California, off of California Highway 108. It was a sunny, cold day. We dressed in our camouflage and began our hunt. We were deep in the woods and had climbed down a hillside of boulders and into what looked like a perfect hunting area. Forest on either side of a meadow, approximately 300 yards wide. We found pine trees to sit under. They had low branches to await our perfect buck, and so put on the skunk scent. My husband was approximately 10 feet away from me. We each had views across the meadow, but I could not share his, nor could he share my view. But there was a clump of trees and bushes about 100 yards in front of us, and positioned between the trees we were under. About 20 minutes into the hunt, we heard branches breaking across the meadow. My husband quietly told me to be aware of bears, to stay alert. It was approximately 10:30 to 11 a.m. when I looked back across the meadow and saw some... Where the hell did it go?
Oh!
No, what do you mean? What?
Oh!
No, that can't end there.
Oh, view full post.
Oh, okay. Here we go. All right.
Phew.
There's a lot more to the story, thank God. And let me see where I can... to stay alert approximately 10:30 to 11 a.m. when I looked back across the meadow and saw something that wasn't there 3 to 5 minutes prior. So 20 minutes in the hunt, we heard branches. Yeah, okay, so it saw something that wasn't there 3 to 5 minutes ago. Immediately I thought, could it be a bear? Well, I rationalized if it was only shadows from trees, a dead log, or with light coming through, but none of my theories fit. The image I saw was black. The sun was shining from behind it, so the front looked black. And then I thought it must be a Sasquatch. I saw most of his head, three quarters of his chest area, and down to what could possibly be the waist, and the rest was hidden by the trees/bushes. After totally analyzing the figure, the blackness, I thought if it is a Bigfoot, it must have eyes, and I brought my small camouflage binoculars up to my eyes slowly and looked across the meadow. It was then that fear and anxiousness prevailed, for I saw two yellow eyes watching me very intently. God, they must have good vision. I mean, amazing vision. I have never been so scared. I was afraid to move an inch. I continued observing for about 15 minutes, and he stood there and watched me too. We were both very still. I was wondering if he would move. Why was he so intent on observing me? And then my instinct told me to move and get out of there. I motioned for my husband that I was going back to camp, but did not tell him why. My fear did not allow me to speak. My intent was to leave the area as quickly as possible. I hightailed it back to camp, up to the stony hillside, and through the woods, all the time looking over my shoulder. Later, when my husband came in and I asked him if he saw anything unusual, he said that he didn't. So the Bigfoot didn't walk across the meadows, or my husband would have seen it. The Sasquatch found me. I was there under that tree first, minutes before he came into the area. I honestly believe, without a doubt, that this was a Sasquatch. I do not believe that it was a dangerous threat to me, or it would have been advanced toward me. I do not believe it was a bear, because a bear would not have stood still for so long. I wonder if these creatures are just as about us as we are of them. I don't know what that means necessarily, but I think equal interest, I guess. If only I could go back to that point in time, I would have slowly moved across the meadow towards it to see what it would have done and to investigate further. My husband said, "What would you have done if it charged you?" And I said, "Run and scream." My point is, how will anyone ever know the truth if they don't cautiously and tamely approach one? Would love the opportunity to go on a real sighting and or search. The opportunity to see a Sasquatch in motion would be awesome. Wow. Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
Oh, which reminds me of something somebody said on a Facebook post earlier, like 2 days ago, earlier this week. This week? Is it today's Wednesday? Yeah. Earlier this week, like 2 or 3 days ago, Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday or Sunday or Monday. Anyhow, so somebody posted on like somebody's Facebook. So what does Bigfoot Sasquatches eat? And one of the people, God, I wish I would have saved it. I didn't save it. But one of the people said, "Oh, they forage for this, that, and the other, and I've seen packs of them take down deer." And I was like, packs of Bigfoot? Like packs. So I asked, I said, "What do you mean packs of Bigfoot?" And then he comes back and he says, well, I mean like a family pack, like a mom, a dad, and a juvenile, maybe a baby. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, because like where I'm from, a pack is like coyotes, and coyotes are in packs of 20 to 40.
Or wolves, yeah. Yeah,
wolves are up to 15, Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so when you say packs of Bigfoot, this is like a force of nature. It's not a pack. Mm-hmm. If you got 10 Bigfoot together, it's a force of nature. So I just wanted to be clear. What do you mean they hunt in packs? So, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. So yeah, anyhow.
I think those sightings are out there. I think that there are people that have seen those kind of things. I've been mentioning the story that I shared on the pod, or that was shared to me by Becky Cook.
Oh,
did you listen to that?
No, oh no.
Oh, okay. You just you should listen to it. There's a great story.
I did hear it, but I
Yeah.
did not listen.
Yeah, I
Sorry
understand.
to say.
No. That's understandable when you're working for quality rather than content.
That's my point.
But there's a story she shared about these old hunters years and years ago that had seen a Sasquatch and a bull elk going at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the amazing battle that ensued. And if you haven't heard that story, check out Bigfoot Lives in Idaho, the podcast, the Paranormal Portal podcast. It was our last one, right? No, not the last one.
No,
The
it was
one
the one
before.
before. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
Yep.
we released that, and there was an interview with our author Becky Cook.
Right.
And she's written 3 books: Bigfoot Lives in Idaho, Bigfoot Still Lives in Idaho, and Bigfoot Lives Forever in Idaho. And she was my guest on the podcast. And we had a good discussion, really nice discussion. But she told this narrative. She couldn't use it in her books because, unfortunately, she wasn't able to corroborate it with any of the other hunters there because they had all passed. And,
Right.
and this old 80-year-old guy was the only one that was left alive from the group that witnessed it.
Right.
And then she was going to go back and talk to him, and he had passed. But the story lives on of this amazing witnessing this amazing event. And I don't know if you know how big a bull elk is.
Oh, they're huge.
They're as big as
They're like
moose.
2,000 pounds.
Yeah, they're
big.
enormous, and they're powerful. And I'll tell you is just go check out that episode because it was a great narrative.
Hey, I got some more.
Please have some more.
Ha ha! Tom Ding Dong thinks aliens may have been present for the birth of Jesus. I'm sorry, did I say DeLong? I mispronounced that.
DeLong.
Tom DeLong. Sorry. Tom DeLong wants everyone to open their minds. This came out September 16th, which is like, it's today, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, so it just came out today. Yeah. So Tom DeLong. This week, the former Blink 182 member suggests that aliens may have been present for the birth of Jesus. Outside of Angels and Airwaves, DeLong dedicates a large amount of his time to unidentified aerial phenomena research with the TTBSA. After a series of breakthroughs over the years with this organization, he is now revealing even more of his theories. Oh, come on, computer. Oh, do you see this? I was telling you it was dropping words. Oh, it just popped in. In a recent interview with The Guardian, DeLong points out that many things written in text thousands of years ago have yet to be explained. No kidding. As an example, he references the Book of Exodus and the burning bush, which, according to religious scholars, spoke to Moses when God appointed him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Things were written in text thousands of years ago, like hearing voices in your head, a burning bush that was talking, he shares. The ancient texts may have called it God, but I'm just saying, it's not that simple.
Why is that news, though? Because, you know what I mean? It's like these ideas are not new. Everything he's saying has been around and it's been discussed forever, but since Tom DeLong says it, it's noteworthy now.
It's fresh and new.
Yeah, it's that, I don't know. I don't know the guy, but all I can say is that, I don't know, he just seems like an opportunist. I'm really, not really pleased with a lot of the decision making they've made with some of the exotic materials and stuff.
Right.
And, it's just my opinion, but I think that they went exactly the wrong way with it. But anyway.
He then goes on to reference the Star of Bethlehem. The star appears in the Gospel of Matthew and leads the wise men to the birthplace of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. DeLong suggests, however, that the star could have been something else, such as an unidentified aerial phenomena. Given the star's description in the text, DeLong thinks the possibility is there. The Star of Bethlehem, was that a star or a craft? Because a star is really big. It wouldn't be hovering over a manger. DeLong further says that people need to open their minds to the possibility that humans aren't the only life forms out there. Please, people need to buckle up, he says, open their minds and stop talking about aliens and extraterrestrials, because I have a feeling that's not exactly what it is.
Wow.
As well, he says, the skeptics can easily go online and read thousands of reports and evidences pertaining to unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP. Anybody can go to the CIA website and read thousands of reports, he continues. There's just a vacuum of conversation. Our government has decided, or has had decades, a very difficult burden of dealing with something that is extremely advanced but poorly understood. They need time to dig in this, to understand it, and gather data and analyze it. More among the evidence, skeptics may find videos that were uncovered by DeLong and the TTBSA. They released 3 videos in December 2017 and March 2018 that showed objects in the sky that reportedly dated back to the mid-2000s. A year later, in 2019, the U.S. Navy acknowledges these videos and considered the phenomena depicted in those videos as unidentified. This all eventually led to the TTBSA's partnership with the U.S. Army. Then in April 2020, the Pentagon officially released 3 videos featuring alleged evidence of UFOs. And those, of course, are the Tic Tac videos, the Gimlet videos, and the Go Fast videos.
Yeah.
More recently, the TTBSA is trying to make some changes in the United States government. On June 23rd, the TTBSA was able to get language regarding unidentified aerial phenomena inserted into the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Authorization Act. If passed, how the government conceals and reports on classified information regarding UFOs would change. Ultimately, the TTBSA wants the public to know more, have more access to classified information pertaining to UFOs. That way, everyone can have further knowledge and understanding of these past and future discoveries. In the Guardian interview, DeLong also hinted that various presidents have come close to truly acknowledging the existence of life beyond Earth. However, he doesn't go far enough into the specifics about the information he may know.
Whatever. Is a brick.
I can't say much, he shares, but I do know that there have been moments when certain presidents have come close. The issue always becomes, how are people going to digest this if it hits them over the head with a giant sledgehammer? That's scary for people in the Pentagon when they're trying to keep civilization duct taped together. DeLong's full interview, who gives a crap? Anyhow, so he is postulating that aliens were at the birth of Christ.
Which has been postulated forever.
Yeah, it's not
since
exactly
the discussion of UFOs has been
not
happening.
Something new, the wheel in the sky keeps on burning. Yeah. So anyhow, whatever.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that in on the
That's funny.
And more.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know the guy. I have no idea other than, he played with Blink 182 and now he's got the...
I've never heard a Blink 182 song.
All the small things.
I have no idea.
We used to cover it when we did clubs back in the day.
Apparently it's the only thing worth doing.
Yeah. I should have covered it with a lot more.
Hey, put it in the cat box. They'll take care of it.
Sorry, I mean, I don't know. I just, ladies and gentlemen, my problem is that the whole To the Stars thing, first of all, is about the dumbest name ever for a UFO group or whatever they're doing, but because it sounds like a talent search. It sounds like, a star search or whatever. It's just a silly name. No, whatever. I mean, I'm just being a dick about that. That's my own hang up. But what I don't like is that they had all these exotic materials that they were I guess loaned or given, and they're believed to be materials from craft from other worlds or other intelligences and stuff. So they had these materials, and they were going to spearhead this research into, let's figure out what these materials are and let's learn what we can from them and whatever. And what does his group do? They sign an agreement with the U.S. military. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? It should have been some university or something so that these, it'll be on tanks and stuff for, ages before it'll ever hit, your safer car or something like that. And whatever. But it's just like, oh my God, the one chance they had to really get out there and put some real knowledge out there. They give it to the very people that'll cover it and bury it, and it'll, never see the light of day. It's like, oh my God, you tools. So I don't know. It just seems to me that just a comedy of errors. In my opinion, this is my own opinion. I might be absolutely wrong, but just on the outside looking in, I think it's disgusting. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, and no, Bomber, I'm not going to timestamp that. That was a slip of the lip. Sorry. And she says timestamp the ding dong part.
What ding dong part?
Exactly.
What, that when I was being a dick?
No.
Okay.
See, you don't even remember, so it's okay. Never mind.
I got nothing here.
We've got 100 people watching right now, but we only have like 53.
Yeah, we'd really like it if you guys would like the stream and get subscribed if you would.
Come on,
you guys, please,
Come play in our sandbox.
Gee, that sounded a lot creepy.
Well, you're talking about burying things over there.
Yeah, burying things. I didn't talk about playing in sandboxes.
You know what cats bury in sandboxes.
I know.
Right?
I got to deal with one of those after the show, so I got a bunch of Anubis gems to go mine.
Too bad you don't have a dog. They'll go do it for you.
Yeah. Well, then I get those when I'm over.
Hey, thanks for the thumbs down. We appreciate that. Nice.
Woo.
Thank you. Ooh,
Thank you.
Analytics. Nobody gives a crap. Anyhow.
Don's got a coordinating in tonight, huh?
Now I'm dying.
Yeah, it's all right.
So I'm back.
No, but I just think that there's a lot that could have been learned, and now they've managed to
hand it over to the government.
Yeah, which will very very closely and completely censor everything. So, it's just the way it works, I guess, ladies and gentlemen. I suspect they had an agreement well before they ever got these materials.
Doubt. Because then Luis Elizondo jumped on board with them.
Yeah.
Luis, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So anyhow, get me started talking about that. I'll light up. Yep.
Absolutely. Now, I do have a little article here, speaking of ETs and UFOs. It's an article from unexplained-mysteries.com. It has to do with their news, and it's results of ET technosignatures survey revealed. Astronomers in Australia have, let me say that again. Astronomers in Australia. That's not with an extra I. Have conducted the deepest and widest ever search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Wow. With the Murchison Wide Field Array, the MWA, in Australia, turned towards the Vega region in the southern sky, astronomers Chenoa Tremblay and Stephen Tingay from Curtin University, node of the International Center for Radio Astronomy Research, or ICRAR, scoured the heavens for signs of life. The goal was to find evidence of alien technosignatures, the telltale signs of technological activity, such as radio signals, indicative of the Louise. I'm like stroking out here. Indicative of the advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. Sadly, however, despite surveying over 10 million stars, they found no sign of ET whatsoever. As Douglas Adams noted in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, space is big, really big, said Tingay. And even though this was a really big study, the amount of space we've looked at was the equivalent of trying to find something in Earth's oceans, but only searching a volume of water equivalent to a large backyard swimming pool. Yeah, that's probably not a big enough sampling. Since we can't really assume how possible alien civilizations might utilize technology, we need to search in many different ways. Using radio telescopes, we can explore an 8-dimensional search space, although there is a long way to go in search of extraterrestrial intelligence. Telescopes such as MWA will continue to push the limits. We have to keep looking. Well, there again, and I think I was in reading that it sounds like the researcher has the right idea, because I think it's one thing to assume that there might be extraterrestrial intelligence,
or that the Star of Bethlehem was a craft.
But it's another thing to assume that they have evolved exactly as we evolved. How come?
Right.
They would have had to utilize radio telescope or radio waves. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could have gone a whole different way. They could have developed a technology that didn't ever use radio waves for a basis of communication. They could have used a number of other ideas. Perhaps they, figured out something atomically that would send information or whatever that wouldn't be broadcast through the stars. So to rely on one signature type to be, the judge of whether or not there are extraterrestrial intelligences out there, I think is very narrow, because we're presuming that everybody did it just like we did it,
Right.
And that I really don't believe that. I think there's probably millions of ways that they could have developed that would never have given them similar technology footprints like we've had.
Sure.
So I think that's cool, because it sounds like the guy's kind of on that same page. Like, hey, this is just one thing we're looking for. There's many other things we need to look for.
Well, and when you talk about pointing your radio telescopes at Vega, you're talking about something that's been studied for decades and decades and decades.
Well, you know what, Don?
And
I've heard what happens in Vega stays in Vega. Thank you.
Did he just go there?
I did. I went right there.
God. Oh,
Sorry. That's why they didn't pick anything up.
Shout out to DDoS. He just showed up in the chat. How you doing, D?
How you doing, DDoS? Welcome, brother. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah. So so Vega's been studied for a long, long time, and there's a lot of information that they're hoping to get from Vega that they've been, even the movie Contact by
Jodie Foster.
Yeah, exactly. The book also Carl Sagan, right? So
sure.
Talked about that was where the technology came from, was the Vega system. Anyhow, so and then the Vega Car Club was there. That was funny. I was like, oh, you're kidding me. But as opposed to Tom DeLonge, as in the last story, at least this makes sense. This is for the betterment of everybody, instead of
sure.
Can you get your grubby paws on that money grabber?
I need me a money grabber.
I need me a money grabber.
I need one of them.
But anyhow, yeah. So that there, I would believe that short story. Anything more than Tom DeLonge just said. DeLonge said.
Yep, absolutely. But you know what, Don?
Is it time?
We've run the gauntlet.
It's time, sweetheart.
We've reached the end of our journey here, ladies and gentlemen, for this version of the Paranormal Portal. We'll be back with more versions. Every show's a different version.
It's a different version. It's like sub episodes.
We never know what we're gonna get. But
there you go.
But yeah, we've had a great time tonight. I hope you guys have had a great time joining us. Thank you, Aaron. He said that was fast. It was. It always is.
Yeah, when we're having a good time,
yep.
We got good callers. Thanks to Carlton and Jem for calling in.
Yeah.
Don't forget the Teespring's website, teespring.com/
Check the description.
Stores, / paranormal-portal. But anyhow,
yep.
Check the description. I put a gator on last week with our podcast logo on it. So there you go.
Yep, and any way you can support us, the best way is just spread the word. Let other people know so that we can continue to grow and expand and evolve.
Continue.
So we can continue to...
Oh, gotcha.
Did I screw that all up?
Well, no, it just kind of came out.
It's sometimes just words come out in spurts. I just can't.
Sometimes
I can't be held responsible. I do a lot of talking, so sometimes they're not even words, but they are in my head. Believe it or not, they make perfect sense in here.
Right.
But thank you all for being here with us. I hope you guys had a great time.
Yep.
If you're not subscribed, we'd love to have you become part of the family and get subscribed. And please spread the word. Like the stream if you liked it. If you don't like it, don't bother.
Share it with your friends.
Yeah.
Your enemies. Your frenemies.
Dave Mustaine used to say that at his concerts. If you liked us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. I love that line.
I have a lot of respect for Dave Mustaine.
Yeah. Great. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's show. I'll be back tomorrow night with the Night Terrors, a shorter format Paranormal Portal show where we focus on ghostly encounters. So if you want to join me then, I'd love to have you. Again, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on the YouTube channel. And then Friday and Saturday will be the 2-hour network shows. And we'll be back. Don will be back on Saturday, right?
I'm planning it.
Okay. We're going to hold him to that. So
Yep.
Anything in closing, Don, other than what you already said?
Good night.
That'll do. All right, everybody. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. And we'll be back tomorrow night. See you then.
Good night.